Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine. Today we are welcome with Mr. Jamie Stanley. How we doing, man?
Hey, my man Justin, thanks for having me. I'm doing great, man. How are you, my friend?
Great, blessed to have you here. Excited to see where this comes from. Like I told you off screen, Bobby Fish, mutual friend. Now we're here. I'm excited.
Oh man, you're calling Bobby Fish a friend, huh? That's a bold statement there.
Yeah, it was a bold statement.
No, I love Bobby, man. He's actually one of the head trainers at the gym that I own here in Orlando. So yeah, great friend and couldn't meet a better guy. But also you'll never meet another Bobby Fish, that's for sure.
Definitely not. And from talking to him, a good portion of what we talked about was his work at House of Champions.
Mhm.
And I don't think he could be happier to be anywhere else and just training the next crop of talent. So,
And I mean, he is an encyclopedia of knowledge, man. The wisdom that he has, he's probably forgotten more than I've ever learned. So to have him here is just an invaluable asset. I know the members love him and we love him, and just kind of fell into our lap. It was just kind of a God thing. So no, he's been here for, man, I think over 6 months now, and we hit the ground running. So we love Bobby, and we're gonna keep him. We're not gonna let him get away.
that's great. Before we get into your wrestling career, is there anything you want to plug? Let the people know, hey, this is what you got going on, or maybe this is what House of Champions has going on. What we got?
Yeah, absolutely. So, House Champions, our website is www.thehawkpro.com. Also on social media, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all the good ones. We've got _Hawk Pro. And we've got a kids camp that we're doing right now, actually, for spring break, ages 8 to 14, that we just wrapped up for the day, but it's going all week. We've got a show on Saturday that we're doing open to the public here at the Hawk, but we've got also a member student show tomorrow night from 7 to 8, that's open to the public, and then it's going to be on YouTube sometime next week. So a lot going on for the Hawk right now between kids camps and our members, and big things coming up. For me, my handle is at the Jamie Stanley on all the socials. Got a very busy summer coming up, but you can catch my schedule on all the socials. I'm very interactive with anybody who wants to talk. So please go hit the follow button, and we'll connect there.
Sounds good. Um, we've talked a lot about House of Champions already. Usually I start at the beginning of your wrestling career, but how did House of Champions come about? I read that you're the owner.
Yeah, so it's me and my wife. She is so she still works her corporate job. She works at Mars Pet Care, so she does marketing for like the Pedigree and Iams and Nutro and Caesar, all the dog food brands with the commercials and the products. She does the marketing behind that. So we've been having a conversation. We've lived in Orlando for about it'll be 5 years in June. Moved down here to be closer to the WWE Performance Center, and just the hotbed of talent that's down here in Florida in the indie wrestling scene. So wanted to be closer to the Mecca, and also kind of test my mettle against other great talent here in the Florida area. So we moved down here, and we've been going. It's been great, been super busy, really progressed, but kind of bounced around to a couple different schools myself. And I definitely recommend that, to get the different flavors of ice cream from different people, so to speak. So there's a lot of great schools in Florida and in Tampa and Orlando area, just all around. But it's always been a passion of mine to kind of give back to the wrestling community in some way. So it was just kind of a pipe dream, I guess, to say, I would own a wrestling school, or I would be a trainer in some capacity someday. And that pipe dream turned into a reality. The more that my wife and I talked about it, the more that we prayed about it, the more that we just sought guidance about it. And so April of 2023, we decided to go all in and start looking for a realtor. And pretty much the next week, we found this place here at the House of Champions in Longwood, Florida, which is a suburb of Orlando. And we were like, all right, well, here's our sign. We found a place. We have a couple buddies that would help us train and be trainers at the school. And it's something that can be really cool for my wife and I to go in on a business venture together. She's always been a wrestling fan. I found that out after we started dating, actually, so it's kind of a funny coincidence. But we've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. We tried a couple different things that didn't really match our passion and our drive, and we're like, you know what? I think we finally need to, bite the bullet and go all in on this crazy dream. And so we decided to do that. We opened up in May of 2023, and I mean, being an entrepreneur, anybody knows it's a daily grind. There's ups and downs. It's a roller coaster. It's one of the most, I guess, fulfilling, frustrating, heartbreaking, joyful, like all the emotions all in one, every single day. And it will be open 2 years, in this May, which is a blessing. We have 40 members. We have two full-time coaches. We've got a media guy that helps with our all of our content. And it's just been an amazing blessing how God has just used this platform to just explode basically. So if I would have told you 2 years ago at this time that I'd be where I'm at right now, I would have said I was drunk, but here we are.
What are some of like the values or things that you hold closest at House of Champions?
Yeah, absolutely. So, number one, I'm very strong in my faith. We are a Christian organization. So we try to put God first in everything that we do. We try to share God's love to everybody that comes in the door. We try to promote just a family atmosphere. My wife Renee here is her name, and we have three kids that are always running around here. So we had to make it somewhat of a clean environment if we're gonna bring our kids here. Um, so we pride ourselves on just being a team, a family atmosphere. Like I said, we have 40 members and they're all bought into the culture of, we push each other and, we are competitive, but wrestling and, show business and I guess, the world in general can be so just backstabbing and cutthroat and, stab you in the back to get what I want and what's in it for me and stuff like that. And like I said, like we do push competition because that drives everybody to be better. But it's a safe space where anybody from any walk of life can come in here and just follow their dream. Like we have people from all different, a couple different countries, different backgrounds, ethnicities, race, religion, genders, like whatever it is. It's kind of a melting pot. It's the United Nations of pro wrestling, basically, where we all kind of come under one roof and join this team, and we're bought into this faith and this family and this teamwork driven culture, and it's just been amazing to see how everybody's bought into it, and you just get a different vibe when you come into the HOC. So we're very proud of that.
That's amazing. I know like here on ILW Pod, another venture that actually me and my dad do is he is a minister and we run a ministry, a
Very cool.
nonprofit, and it's nice to be able to connect faith and then the other outlets of your life to see how much they grow and
Yep.
prosper together. And it's just cool to see other people and families do the same thing. Because, like, I can tell you, my family and my faith and all those things make the podcast so successful. So it's cool to have other people that are kind of going down the same road.
Yeah, yeah, and it's don't get me wrong, it's nerve-wracking and
Yes.
you do have fear and doubt and anxiety and worry about how it's going to be perceived, and I'm sure you know the same thing, and like what are people going to think? Are we going to get canceled? Like all these things. But from what we've seen, I mean, it is wrestling, so there are haters and people who talk, and we just kind of kill them with kindness and excellence, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But it's been amazing to see just the good positive reception that we've got because of our open faith about, from people that we didn't expect it to come from, that are like, oh man, I love how you hang that Jesus is King flag, or I love how you're so open with your faith. And it's super refreshing because I truly believe that there is a revival happening in pro wrestling specifically, but also, hopefully here in the world. And it's cool to just kind of take that one step and watch God move. And thank you for sharing with that, man. That's inspirational. It's good to know that other people are, fighting that same fight.
100%. Um, Seeing as how we are the I Love Wrestling podcast,
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask, how did you find wrestling and maybe when did you fall in love with wrestling?
Oh man. So they were the same point of time.
Okay.
The first time I saw it, I was hooked, and it was funny because it was during one of the hottest periods in pro wrestling. It was during the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars. My brother, he is 7 years older than me, so he was in high school and I was, in elementary. And I looked up to him. I hung out with him. I was on his hip. He couldn't get rid of me even if he tried. So, one of the nights we were just kind of flipping through channels and he was starting to get back into wrestling. And I think it was 1998. And he had obviously grown up on the Hulk Hogan era, the big WWF Macho Man, the golden era.
Yeah.
But during the 90s, I think that he kind of fell out of it. But then once it started catching fire again in the late 90s, him and his buddies were into it. So I was watching it with him, and we were flipping through the channels, and we saw Monday Nitro, and we saw Hulk Hogan and Roddy Piper in the ring. But Hulk Hogan was dressed in all black, and he had spray painted belt, and he had the black beard. It was like I don't remember Hulk Hogan looking like that. Black shade, sunglasses, and the do-rag and everything. And my brother told me how he was a bad guy and how he had kidnapped Roddy Piper's son. And back in the day, I was like, this was 100% legit to me. I'm like, oh my God, like why is he not in jail? Why are they just letting him talk in the ring right now? Why is he not arrested? And I just remember like the viral reaction that I got out of that. Like it just immediately sucked me into like this whole new world. And the more that I watch, with the NWO and all, I was a huge WCW guy, by the way, if you can't tell. NWO, it got me sucked in how like these bad guys, they were just causing havoc and destruction, and people were just letting them do it. And anybody who tried to step up to them, they would just beat down and uh, you know, um, just destroy and humiliate. And obviously, then I kind of got into the more like in-ring wrestling aspect as opposed to the storytelling. And the more that I saw, the DDPs and the Stings and the Lex Lugers and the Roddy Pipers and the Giants and the cruiserweights. I mean, I loved all the cruiserweights. It took me, man, maybe a week, and I was hooked. And I remember we would used to, I'm dating myself now, we used to tape them and put them on VHS, and save them so we could watch them later. I don't think we ever watched any of them later, but just in case we had them saved, and I think they're all collecting dust in my parents' basement now. But I mean, man, for a good year and a half, probably 2 years, like I was glued there to the TV every Monday and Thursday. During my elementary and going into my middle school years. After that, I was starting to get more and more into sports. I played football. That was my passion. I played football all through high school and all through college as well. So like that was priority number one. I guess I kind of fell out of love with wrestling. I kept it kind of on the periphery and like knew about, the Edges and the John Cenas and the Christians and the Batistas and all that stuff. But I wasn't, in love with it like I was growing up. Fast forward to when I was done playing college football, I kind of had a huge hole in my life now where football used to take up, and I didn't have that competitive, thing that would, make me feel alive, I guess. When I graduated college, I lived in Chicago for a year and went and worked into a sales job, and it was cool, but I was living the civilian lifestyle, like just going to work and punching the clock and partying on the weekends and whatever. And I had fun while I was there, but I just felt like something was missing. And as God would have it, I was just flipping through channels again one night and come across Monday Night Raw, and it was John Cena and I think CM Punk. They're cutting a promo on each other. And immediately I was kind of sucked back in. I was like, man, I used to love this so much. Like I know that I kind of fell out of it, but that was my dream when I was a kid. I was going to be the world champion. And I thought, I wonder how hard it would be to just even train or to even get in the ring and try some of the things that they do. Um, so I Googled it, good old Google, and found out that there is a training school about 3 miles away from where I lived at the time that was owned and operated by a former WWF wrestler from the 90s. And I was like, well, okay, there's my sign to at least go check it out. So the next week, the next time they had training, I went in and I checked it out, and I was just gonna go and sit and watch. Like I wasn't gonna get in the ring. I was like, okay, I want to watch before I get in the ring. I don't want to do anything crazy. Lo and behold, they talked me into getting in the ring. They didn't have to twist my arm that hard, by the way. And I got in there and, tried a few things out, and I was like, "Yep, I'm hooked. Sign me up." And so I signed up that day, and I've been going ever since. And that was in 2013. So I've been wrestling professionally for 8 years now, and that's through a couple different states, a couple different kids. I married my wife during that time, and it's just been amazing how it's flown by. I can't believe it's 8 years already. So that's kind of my story in a long-winded nutshell.
Okay. Who were some of your biggest inspirations in wrestling?
Man, when I was a kid, like I said, I was a huge WCW, so I love Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. I love the Outsiders. Um, Being a football player, I loved Goldberg. I loved DDP, how he was just the everyman. I loved Sting and how he stood up, single-handedly against the NWO. So like when I was a kid, like those were my boys. Then when I, finally got back into it and started training, obviously I loved The Rock. I loved his movies and just his larger than life persona. Um, I was a big fan of, like the Batistas and the John Cenas and like the guys who had larger than life physiques as well. So those were the guys who I kind of clung to as well. But I also love the guys that like were charismatic and like could cut a good promo. If you ever see me in the ring, you know, I have my fundamentals, but I'm not gonna be doing any crazy flips or any things, to the outside. But I do pride myself on my character and my ability to cut a promo and be comfortable and speak on the mic. And doing that, those things alone have gotten me amazing opportunities with a lot of different companies, a couple different tryouts, things like that. So anybody who looks the part can talk the part and also always has the fundamentals down in wrestling and can hold their own. That's who I gravitate towards usually.
Okay. What was it like for you to have a match on NXT in 2019?
Funny story. So I'd been training for, or I'd been wrestling for maybe 2 years at that point. So like I said, I started training in 2013. I had my first match in 2014, with all through 2014 and 2015. Then I got married in September of 2015, and I made the decision to retire at that time because I wanted to focus on my marriage and starting a family and things like that. So I've been wrestling for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, close to 2 years.
Okay.
As I'm sure you know, you never fully retire in wrestling, even if you have the grandest intentions to go and do something else. Like it's like The Godfather. Like just when you thought they're out, they pull you back in. So I was out for 4 years. Didn't step in a ring, didn't do wrestling at all, from 2015 until 2018. That's when out of nowhere, I was fine. Like I didn't miss it in the terms of like, man, I made a wrong decision. I want to go back. I looked at it as something that was like, yeah, that was a lot of fun in a different period of my life, but I don't have any desire to go back. I look back on it fondly. And then the wrestling bug got me. I was watching, I still kept up with the product, and just one day I just started getting that inkling, like, man, I feel like I still got some in me. I feel like I could give it a try. So that happened in 2018. Um, Wife was pregnant. Perfect timing, right?
Mhm.
And I remember I was so scared. I was terrified to go and ask her, like, hey, I'm thinking about, remember this stupid thing that I used to do, this crazy thing that I used to go on the weekends and wrestle in dirt barns and pole barns and armories and whatever. Remember this crazy thing that was my previous life? Yeah, I think I want to get back into it and do it again. Luckily for me, she was very gracious and merciful, and she was like, "Okay, we need to sit down and have a conversation, a real life conversation about this." And like we did, and we hashed it out, and we talked about, what my goals and my dreams and things like that are. And she's like, "Okay, well, if we're gonna do this, like, you have my full backing, my full, you have my blessing." but you need to go and you need to give everything that you got, put all of it in, give it your all. So I was like, yeah, 100%. So, my goal wasn't just to be a wrestler on the weekends and husband on the weekdays. I didn't want to separate and live two different lives. I wanted my family to be a part of it, but also I wanted to make the WWE. Like that's 100%. That was my top priority. So I started training again, and getting ready. We rented a studio out, and we made this promo. We learned how to do green screen, like all these crazy things, just because we wanted to send this thing to the WWE. We used don't tell anybody. This is our little secret. We used her corporate email and her corporate mailing address to mail a box with the link to the promo, the video that we cut, some Jamie Stanley merch, and it all came in like, and it was like a pamphlet of like my life story as Jamie Stanley in character, and we sent it a couple up to Stanford at the HQ in WWE, and then a couple to down here in Winter Park to the Performance Center. We just cast a wide net. Hopefully, somebody would bite. Um, Funny story, the day after we sent it and we saw that it was received, I got an email from the WWE that said, "Hey, this promo is great. I really appreciate you putting all your time and effort into this character and sending this stuff to us. Would you be, I know that you're advocating for a tryout. Would you be available to come down and like do extra work with us?" And I was like, "Yep, 100%." So, um, got that maybe in August, and then we had to go back and forth a few times about making dates line up and everything, stuff like that. Um, and like I said, I hadn't been in a ring in a couple of years. So once that hit, I was like a crash course. Like, okay, I need to find the nearest ring. I need to get back into ring shape. I need to knock all the rust off. And then finally, in I think it was January of 2019, is when I got back into the ring. And of course, my first match back after being gone for 4 years was on NXT TV as an extra. So I think it was just God having a sense of humor and saying, "Okay, you think you want to do this? Well, I'm going to throw you right into the right into the frying pan." Um, but I was in a tag match against uh, Imperium, actually. It
Yeah.
was Fabian Eichner was his name at the time, but Giovanni Vinci, and then Ludwig Kaiser, who was Marcel Barthel at the time. So it was really cool because I mean they were very gracious, they were very giving. They worked with us, me and another guy that was a local on the Florida indie scene, with another great guy, and it went well, and they liked what they saw, and it eventually led into a tryout for me. So it's just a funny story that I kind of forget about until I sit here and talk about how crazy the circumstances were. But yeah, that's how I got my first look at the WWE.
It's really cool to see like people throwing that net out there and seeing what bites and it works.
Yeah,
Uh, because like you don't know if things like that are going to work if you don't take that leap of faith. And so many guys just don't because
right.
they're scared of the no. What if or
Uh-huh.
they get seen and it doesn't happen. So it's
Right.
really cool that you know like I said, threw that net out and they bit and you got the chance and the opportunity. It's it's something I can relate to because like every message I send out is that net. Like you
Yep.
never know who's gonna. I've had guys read them, not answer. I've had guys like yourself be like, "Yeah, I'd love to do it." So like you just never know what can happen. It's cool to see that that is maybe like the start of some of your more modern successes in wrestling.
Yeah, I mean, you have to, like you said, if you don't shoot your shot, you're not going to make it. Like if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And I get mad at some of these other wrestlers because they're like, "Oh, I'll wait for them to come calling me." Like that's not going to happen. They're not going to come knocking on your door. And I'm sure you know that too. It's like you have to barrage them. Obviously, you don't want to be calling their phone every night at dinner time or things like that. But like you have to keep shooting your shot and you have to be persistent. You have to be aggressive. You can't take no for an answer. And I mean, I'm sure that I don't have to tell you this, but it's like persistence. And it's a game of attrition because you can't just be like send one email that says, "Hey, I want to come wrestle for you," and they're not going to say that and like, "Oh, this guy wants to wrestle for us. Let's sign him." Like you have to stand out. You have to send something that's different, and you have to just continue to knock on the door, and it will eventually open. So yeah, I 100% agree.
What brought you to OVW later in 2019?
Yeah, so that was after I had my extra spot. And I wanted to continue training and doing it at high caliber places. And obviously, OVW is it's got a storied history.
Yes.
Being with everybody during that time, whether it was Batista, Orton, Lesnar, Cena, Shelton Benjamin, like all the people they came through OVW. So like I was like, well, if they did that, I want to do that too. And I was living in Nashville at the time, so. Louisville was, a couple 3 hours away, so a very manageable drive. So I'd go up there every Wednesday. Another thing, I kind of shot my shot. I gave him a call. I talked to Rip Rogers, who was the trainer there, and anybody who's familiar with him, like he is a character. Like you will never meet another Rip Rogers, and it was almost like Rocky trying to get Mickey to train him, and Mickey kept saying, "Nope, nope, not gonna do that." But luckily, I went up and I had some guys with me who I was training with at the time who were already headed in there. So I got to go up and wrestle a couple shows. Got to meet Al Snow, which once again, like he is a brilliant mind, just a genius. Super nice guy, super giving, super, you can bend his ear and he can give you advice and give you critiques on your matches. And like he has all the time in the world for people, which is I was extremely grateful for. But yeah, man, the Davis Arena in Louisville, Kentucky. It's hallowed ground, and just to step foot in there and wrestle matches in that ring, the same ring that all the greats have been in, just invaluable. So I think that anybody that has the chance to go through there or have an opportunity there should 100% take it because there's great guys and invaluable experience.
Do you know like why it never went longer? Like, do you know why it came to an end so quickly?
Yeah, so I was there for a while, in 2019, maybe even a little bit into 2020, but in 2020 we decided to move down here to Florida. So
Okay.
I kind of left my ties of Tennessee, just because obviously it's a lot farther. Like I'm
Yeah.
still, nothing bad happened. Like I'm still good graces and like wish them all the best. And I would go down again in a heartbeat to either help out or wrestle or do whatever I could do there. But yeah, just a change of scenery. God told us to move down to Florida, and that's just basically why it ended.
Makes sense. In 2021, you took on a deathmatch wrestler, Drake Younger, in an Orlando street fight. How did that come about?
I
Like,
did. I
what was your
did.
experience like with Drake?
Drake was great, man. I met him originally because obviously he was a WWE ref
Hmm.
for a couple years or for a number of years. He was also the one who booked a lot of the extra spots for NXT talent. So that's how I met him. I came down for the first time and met him, and he was just extremely generous and giving. And he looked out for us as being extra talent and made sure we had everything that we needed, and was very just open arms, very welcoming. So I was very grateful for that. Found out that he was a outspoken believer as well. So I went up to him and told him, I was like, hey, man, I appreciate you being so outward with your faith and just being a light in the dark industry. So we kind of bonded over that. And then he parted ways with WWE, I believe, yeah, during the pandemic in 2020 or 2021. And he was obviously a deathmatch wrestler before being a ref, and then he went back to doing that after being a ref. It's quite the juxtaposition of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I'm either a ref or a deathmatch wrestler, which has no rules. So it's just funny, man. You would have never pegged him as that, if you saw him as a ref.
Yeah.
But I say all that to say, he went back to the indie scene and started wrestling again, and I was actually the first one that he called up to have his first match back. So I was extremely honored. Um, it was a street fight. Luckily, there were no barbed wires or light tubes or anything. I said, just don't mess up this pretty face. Like I ain't got a lot going for me, but if you mess up my face, man, nobody's gonna want to book me. So he's very gracious in that as well. And we had our match in Orlando. There were tables, there were chairs. We went and fought outside, brawled outside a little bit, but that was about it. But unfortunately, he got the win. He power bombed me through a table. But all considering, I got up and I was able to go home that night. So I lived to tell about it. But a great experience. Have nothing but great things to say about Drake. He's always treated me well, and yeah, I got a lot of love for him.
That's great. How did your time with the NWA start in 2021?
Yeah, yeah. So that in Tennessee, I trained with Thomas Latimer,
Okay.
also Bram on TNA. You probably know him as or Impact, but just a great guy, a very close friend to the family. I went to his wedding. Um, we've just spent a lot of time together, so we trained together as well in Tennessee. He was in NWA for a little bit, and that was when they first came out, and I was watching, and it was like when it was the brand new hot thing, and I was like, man, this is really cool. The studio wrestling, they really focus on characters. I really think that I would fit in well. So I asked him, I was like, hey man, what's a good way for me to like get a look or a tryout match or any email that I can send or anything like that? And he gave me the email to the gentleman who was doing the talent relations at the time. So I was like, hey, I'm one of Tom Latimer's friends. I trained with him. I love what's going on with the NWA. Like, I love an opportunity. What do I need to do, basically? And he emailed me back actually that same afternoon. He was like, "Hey, can you send me some matches?" So I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I thought about it and I had some matches and I was ready to push send on the email. And I was like, you know what? I'm sure he gets a million matches a day. He's seen all different types of matches from all different types of people. I need to send him something that helps me to stick out and stand apart from the crowd. So I took about an hour or so and kind of brainstormed. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to send him a match, but that's going to be lower down on the email. I'm going to send him a promo first. So I got into my promo. I was in my salmon, three-piece suit, just all obnoxious and crazy, and wanted to just be larger than life, and cut a promo for him to show him, that I'm not only just another indie wrestler. Like, I'm bringing a character to the product. I'm bringing a persona to the show. So did that, sent that to him, and got an email back. Actually, you know what? I think he called me after that and said, "You know what? I love your character. We'd love to book you. Are you available so and so in August or whenever it was?" And so I got booked not because of my wrestling, but because of my character and my promo, which, as you can see, is kind of a recurring theme in my career. So it was super cool, and yeah, we got off and running just because of a stupid little promo that I brainstormed and decided to send to him.
Do you know what went into the decision to put you and Sam Adonis together as a tag team?
Yeah, so Sam Adonis, he great guy, great guy. I got nothing but love for him. Helped me a lot and mentored me a lot while I was at NWA. So obviously he has bleach blonde hair. I had a bleach blonde mohawk at
Yeah.
the time. So I mean, visually we kind of fit together. They were going to bring us together and kind of help us or model us after like the Beverly Brothers. In WWF during the 90s. Um, or like the Valiants, just a lot of like old school tag teams that were, that in that mold. So we're like, yeah, 100%. So we came together and we decided to make a tag team called the Rude Dudes. He was El Rudo. He's a huge, huge star over in Mexico. That's his name in Mexico. And obviously, I was that dude, Jamie Stanley. So the Rude Dudes, it just fit together perfectly. And yeah, we had our run, unfortunately, was a lot shorter than I wish it would have been. We had some good times and we had some great matches, great chemistry. But yeah, I would love, I haven't seen Sam in a while, but nothing but good things for him and would love to cross paths with him again.
In mid 2021, you took on Charlie with Tyler Breeze as the
Mhm.
special guest referee. How
Right.
did that match come about, and did you or was you able to have any kind of interactions with Tyler?
Yeah, yeah, he was great. He was the ref. So I mean, we planned the match together. Cha-Cha is great. Just another huge character that it's very easy to wrestle against him because he's so over. And so like if I'm a heel, like it's very easy to hate me because everybody loves him. But no, working with Tyler Breeze was great. He, once again, just a man that's very, very smart, a very bright mind in the business with psychology. And he's been to the top. Like he's been on NXT, he's been in the WWE and main roster. And he owns a school just down the road from us, not too far. Flatbacks. I've been there, have a great working relationship with them. Wish them nothing but the best. Him and Sean Spears own that place, so big shout out to them. They're doing great work over there. But at this At this time of my career, yeah, he was very good in mentoring me and helping us put that match together and make things make sense on where to put certain things. And I mean, it worked. We both started with a promo. And got some good heat there, and the match was perfect. Great psychology, and the fans loved it. And he got to super kick me, so I guess win-win, right?
Yes, sir. Somebody that like in wrestling is very interesting is EC3. You got to appear on a couple of Control Your Narrative shows. One against Big Damo, another against Dante Smiley. What was your experience like working with EC3, Control Your Narrative, and having matches with those guys?
Man, EC3, he is a
Character.
he's an evil genius mastermind
Yes.
in every sense of the word. Yeah, he is a character. Another guy, like I feel like this is like you meet a lot of these people in wrestling where you'll never meet another one. You'll never meet another EC3. Um, but he was super good to me. He's always been great to me. We still have a good relationship together. Um, but yeah, we actually worked out at the same gym when I first moved down here in Orlando, and that's how we met. And I told him, I was like, "Hey man, I love what you're doing with the CYN. Like, if you have any interest, I'd love to come help out or be involved, however it is." So he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." So as it turns out, I think they were filming like that a couple weeks after that, and Moose was going to be in it, but he got sick and he had to pull out. So he called me up. EC3 called me up. He's like, "Hey, we have a spot. You want to come fill that spot?" And I was like, "Heck yeah, I'll be there. You just tell me when and where." And so we did a weekend's worth of like the cinematic filming, like they had on the YouTube and Fight TV and I think later Pro Wrestling TV, which that was super cool to learn from like the production side. It wasn't a live show, but it was a long day of filming, which in wrestling a lot of the TV tapings are that way. So it was great to get my feet wet with that and learn a lot about that, which has even served me to this day. But yeah, working with Damo was great. He's a big teddy bear, just the nicest guy you'll ever meet, and his looks definitely deceive him because you walk into a room, you're like, I gotta fight that guy. I'm not doing that. But very giving, very just humble, and I love that dude. Dante was another good one. He owns or trains for a school in Texas. But another guy, I wrestled him in Dallas. Just we had good chemistry. Just a great dude. I think that he's a believer as well. I believe that we connected over that. But yeah, I mean, he's got a big path and big future ahead of him. He's going to do great things. But working with those guys was great. Working with EC3 and just like watching his mind work and things go together in like his little universe that he put together through the CYN universe, I guess. Like that was super cool and just it's inspiring because like you have to have the creative juices flowing and like my man, his juices never run out when it comes to creativity. Like he's always scheming, always thinking, he's always working. And so like he's always in that mind frame, which is cool because it inspired me to like always just have the antennas open and just take inspiration from anywhere because he can literally do that and look at one thing and go completely 180 with it and think, "Ah,
Um, something fun on ILW Pod that I recently started to do is I mean we're all fans and going through your matches. You've wrestled so many different names. So I went through. I picked five of them that really piqued my interest. I'll run through them. If you want to just tell me a little bit about that experience working with those guys and maybe how it came about, that'd be great.
yeah, 100%, let's do it."
I'm gonna start with Bully Ray.
Oh my goodness, talk about an intimidating guy. I mean, he is a man of few words, and I thought I was going to die that day. It's funny because we went, it was probably day 2 or 3 of a TV taping circuit that we had for NWA. And I came in that morning, and Billy Corgan, obviously the owner of the NWA, came up to me and he was like, "Hey, man, we're going to have Bully Ray beat you up today." Good morning to you too, but also what? So the entire day I was like, what does that even mean? So I had a segment, a talk show on NWA that was called Stanley's Drill, where basically it was kind of like a Miz TV, where basically I would just go and be cocky and pompous and ask them questions, but while also being passive aggressive and putting myself over. And then I'd always end up, egg in my face, basically. So they're like, all right, yep, he's going to be on your podcast, or he's going to be on your talk show, and you're going to do your old shtick, and he's going to challenge you to a match, and you're going to reluctantly accept. So we did that, and like that went fine and everything. And I was like, okay. Now comes the part where I got to get in the ring with Bully Ray, a WWE Hall of Famer. I mean, just the man, his reputation precedes him. So, like I said, man, a few words. We went over the match. I still didn't understand. I wasn't quite sure how it was gonna go, but stepped in the ring and we started. And like I will give him 100% credit. Like he took care of me. He was a professional. The match went great. Like nothing, no, you know, he didn't take liberties or anything like that, which, he definitely could have, especially at that point in my career. But very gracious, very giving. And the match went great. And after that, I was like, hey man, thank you so much. And he was like, yeah, thank you. And then just walked off into the sunset. And that's really the only interaction that I had with him that day. But yeah, very grateful. I mean, talk about on the job experience. That is invaluable. So very, very grateful for that.
That's phenomenal. Up next, I had Brian Pillman Jr.
Yeah, yeah, that was cool. That was while he was still in AEW and before he got signed with WWE.
Mhm.
And that, wrestling, the card subject to change is a real thing. So we weren't scheduled to wrestle each other that night. His opponent, no called, no showed. And so, like, man, maybe 10, 15 minutes before the first bell, they're like, yep, you're going to wrestle him instead, and you guys are up second. So we're like, okay, we have 15 minutes to get changed and get this match together, and it's got to be somewhat good. But yeah, I mean, Brian was a pro. Obviously, he's been doing it for years, and he has it in his blood, literally. So we walked through it, and he was the vet at the time. So he led me through it, and I thought we had a very good match. The crowd was into it. Once again, very giving, very generous. And it was another awesome way to be like, yeah, you just got to be ready to roll with the punches, so to speak. And even if your opponent changes or the match card, the order changes, whatever it is, like you got to be a pro and you got to be ready to go and know yourself so well and your stuff and what you can do that they can just plug anybody into it and you can go out and put a good show on. So that was one of those times where like my feet were held to the fire, and luckily I was with a pro and a vet, and we put on a great match.
Somebody we've mentioned quite a bit on the show so far, Bobby Fish. What was it like getting in the ring with Bobby?
That was another one where I'm like, I'm not sure how I'm going to come out of this match. I don't know if I'm going to be walking or in an ambulance because I mean, once again, like he's one of the legit tough guys in this world. So, I was friends with him beforehand, and but we hear that Bobby likes to work snug, and like he has a legit MMA background, and he's had a boxing match, and he has a record, an MMA record. So like I was like, yeah, I mean, this is cool. I hope he doesn't beat me up too bad. So we talked about the match beforehand, and once again, like I went out there, and like I said, it was very giving, very professional, didn't take liberties. That's just a guy that like it's kind of unsettling because you're like, I know this guy could take my head off if he wants to right now, and I could do nothing about it. But was very grateful that he must have been in a good mood that day.
What about C.W. Anderson?
Yeah, that was a cool one too. So that was an NWA. I believe that was in like a six-man scramble or something like that. It
I
wasn't
think
a
so.
singles match.
Yeah.
But I got to take a spine buster from him, which was really cool. I mean, my man is famous for his spine buster. So that was great. But just another veteran that like has all the time in the world for you. If you ask him any question, like he'll take the time and answer it. He'll give you pointers, recommendations. He'll help critique your match, like all those things. I learned a lot from him, and I only came into contact with him for that weekend in Atlanta, and I don't think I've run into him since. But even just like the short time that I was with him, just sitting under the learning tree. I mean, he's been everywhere. You know what I mean? So that was awesome as well.
Last one I have written down. I believe they only took place in tag team situations, but it's JTG.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrestled JT. So it's funny, me and Sam, we wrestled JT in Fandango. at NWA. So that was super cool. Like, I mean, I was the odd man out in that because, Sam's been all around the world. Obviously, JTG and Fandango have been in WWE and all the major promotions. So I was just like, yep, I'll just shut up and I'll listen. Whatever you guys want me to do, like, I'll do it. So it's so rewarding to, and it's also a good barometer of like where your skill level is and where your experience level is. When you get to work guys who have been to the show and like work at that level and that rate, because it is a clear distinction between, wrestling an indie guy or wrestling somebody that's been to the top and like knows how to work that pro style. So I ate that up, man. Like that was, if I could work every match with somebody better than me and like teaching me, in the back, but also while we're in the ring, like I just learned about, intensity and when to speed it up, when to slow it down, like psychology, how to work the crowd. Just there's so many things that go into pro wrestling, and I could sit here and tell you about the intricacies until like I'm blue in the face, but you just have to go out there and you have to experience it and you have to fail and you have to go with guys that are better than you and bring you up to their level. And that's the only way you're going to get better. So, I mean, just from that one match, I felt like I leveled up.
We've talked about a lot of matches you've been in, some that piqued my interest, but what's been your favorite match of your career so far?
Oh man, favorite match of my career. That's a tough one. I've had a lot recently that have been some of my favorites. Just because for me, it's funny. It takes a good 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years wrestling consistently until you start to get better and like finally feel like you're getting it a little bit.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're never there. Like it's literally a lifelong journey. You never have the perfect match. Like you're never completely satisfied. Wrestling is so subjective, and we are our harshest critics. So no matter how great we think the match is, like we're like, yeah, could have done this, could have done that. Um, you know what? I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go. So the funny thing about me is I keep a list of every single match that I've had, um, with the outcome of it as well. So like I have all of my matches, in this like little Excel sheet, so I can go through and um, okay, so this is like okay, so obviously the Bobby Fishes, all the Rich Swans, like all those were great because like I got to learn and wrestle, against Pope and all the people that have made me better. Um, One of my most fun ones actually was in Daytona last summer. It was against one of my students actually. His name is GMJ. His name is George, but his persona is GMJ. And it was for James Ellsworth's promotion. And so it was going on during like a taco fest where basically it was just a huge festival in Florida during the summer, so people are walking in and walking out. There's a huge crowd, not necessarily there to just watch wrestling, but you have a big captive audience, like if you can keep them while they're walking through, you know what I mean? So I had a match against him, and I was the vet, and I was the trainer, so I kind of structured the match and called most of it. um but that's not what was great about it. So the match before us went a little bit light, meaning they were under their what they should have gone. So we had, man, maybe a couple extra 5 or 10 minutes to kill before the main event, and they're like, "All right, guys, so go out there and milk it. Like you have more time." Like I think it went from like 10 to 20 minutes or something crazy like that. And so we're like, okay, so me just finally like it's finally starting to click. Like it's not about the moves, it's not about all the flashy stuff that you do in the ring. It's all about the connection that you make with the audience. It's all about your character. It's about your larger than life persona, like what you put out to the people. That's what they're gonna remember. Nobody remembers, suicide dive because first of all, everybody does them now, and I'm not gonna do them as good as Ricochet. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But what can set me apart is my character and how I connect with the audience. So. I remember that he went out first. I went out second. I had my jacket. I put it in the ring. Um, and I remember I was just talking trash. And I took extra time to just go around the ring and like just try to get some heat and delay the start. People were getting sick of me already, and the bell hadn't even rung. And I left my jacket in the ring purposely so he could grab it and like mess around with it. And so good on him. Like he took my cue. I was, jaw jacking the fan, and I turn around, and he's wearing my jacket. I'm like, wait a minute, whoa, 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 tell him to take my jacket off. I'm not doing this. Like, blah, made a whole stupid production of it. Turn around, jaw jacking the fans. I turn back around. He's got my shades on now too, and so he's basically acting like me, doing my catchphrase and walking around like me, my movements, my mannerisms, all that stuff. And so we played that back and forth, like man, probably for a good 5 minutes. I think I even grabbed the mic and like cut a promo and just even got more heat and like we had these fans just rabid before the bell even rang. And so all the stuff that we planned and all the high spots and everything like that, we went to lock up. We were like, nope, don't have to do any of that because we already had them hooked. You know what I mean? So after that, it was just a very, meat and potatoes, bread and butter, just fundamental wrestling match to where, I just was being a heel, being, cocky, being a coward, all that stuff, cheap shotting him. And I took him out and I remember we were on the outside of the ring and somebody had it was like I said, it was a taco and margarita fest. So they had a red solo cup. It's probably margarita in there. And I remember like I sniffed it, made a funny face and like hit him over the face with it and stuff like that. And like I remember he did the same thing. I think he got a receipt, same thing back to me later, but just going around and being stupid and having fun and just talking to each other the entire time. And like I said, like not one, Hurricane Rana was hit, not one, Spanish Fly, like none of that stuff. Like we probably could count the number of moves on one hand that we did. But by the time, and I put him over, by the way, because I'm a good Samaritan, I'm a good coach. I put him over by the time that 1, 2, 3 hit and like he defeated the bad guy that like all these people who weren't even necessarily wrestling fans, they just came and saw whatever this was and they got sucked into it because of the storytelling. But by the time the pin happened 1, 2, 3 like that, the roof came off of that place and I took it. We celebrated. We went in the back together, and I was like, "You see how easy that can be?" And he was like, dude, that's one of the most fun matches I've ever had, and like we didn't do anything. So it was just a reminder, a lesson for him, but then a reminder for me, like you can have so much fun and stop worrying about like how awesome your moves look and like obviously you want to have the fundamentals down. You want to be good and snug and you want to present it in a way that like you can hold your own and you have some cool things you can do, but it's not about the moves. Like we need to remember that it's about making that connection with the fans, making that little boy either laugh or cry, you know what I mean? Like, and either being that superhero or the supervillain. And by the end of the day, like, I remember the fans remembered not one move, but they remembered just the way that they felt because of the story that we told. So, um, kind of not what I guess you'd probably expect for my favorite match, but overall, like it was just so satisfying to go home that day knowing that like we had put on such a good show. It was a great learning experience for my trainee, and like I was able to provide that for him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I like because I'm sure you could have picked any of the names I listed or Rich Swan or
Mhm.
whoever, but to but for you to be able to have that like moment with between mentor and student
Yep.
and it be so captivating is just it's I don't want to say it's a rare story in
Mhm.
wrestling, but it's not one that's highlighted probably enough.
Right. Absolutely. I agree. Thank you.
Um, Last question. What are your biggest goals for this calendar year, 2025?
Yeah, I mean, huge goals for this year. Obviously, the goal is to always make the WWE. That's always the goal, and it will be until I hang up my boots. So, um, I really, I'm doing everything that I can. I mean, like we said earlier, it's a waiting game. It's a hurry up and wait game. It's a war of attrition. Like it's consistency. You just got to keep knocking at the door. So this calendar year, that's my personal professional goal. Um, but obviously we have this school now. And so we have goals for the school. We're finally turning a profit, which, thank God for that. Like it's huge. We're not even 2 years old, and like most businesses fail at before 2 years, let alone turn a profit. So like it's huge. We've been extremely blessed by that. But we want to continue to keep getting members and just, we've got 2 rings now. We've got a full gym. Like God has been just amazing and blessing us with things that we shouldn't have because I mean we're not qualified. Like who opens a wrestling school if, first of all, the wife isn't even in the business, and then the husband's, he's not signed, he's never been signed, but it's we're kind of like the little engine that could. It's awesome to be the underdog. We have the underdog mentality, so do our members. So a goal for us is just continue to spread that. Um, we want to get ID'd. We would love to get the WWE ID for our school. We feel like we have the premier training school in the nation. We pride ourselves on, greatness and excellence, and we feel like we really come through with that. So we've had talks about that. We've had a lot of WWE higher ups and also like the talent on the roster come through and use our ring for training or running seminars or things like that. So we have a very good working relationship with WWE, but like our goal is to get that WWE ID tag, and we feel like that's something that God has put in our hearts. So we're just continuing to work to that. Of
Okay. Thank you, Jamie. This was a great time. I'd love to have you back on. So
course.
I'll leave that door open. If you ever want to come back on, do a follow up, maybe a little bit of time passed, we can check up on you.
Yeah, you just
Um,
let me know when.
before we go, I know we did at the beginning, but do you want to just plug House of Champions and all your socials just one more time, just in case they miss
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, like I said, the email for us is, I'm sorry, the website for us is www.thehawkpro.com. Our Instagram and Facebook and all the tags for us is the Hawk underscore pro, the HOC underscore pro. So please give us a follow. For me, just at the Jamie Stanley on all socials. So please, reach out to me. Would love to hear from you guys. And anybody who, is an aspiring wrestler or even is in the business, like we'd love to have you come check out the facility. Your first class is free. All you have to do is sign up on our website to come and see what we're all about, and we'll have you in here. So that's how you can follow me or connect with me as well as the House of Champions.
All right. Thank you, Jamie, once again. I will leave this just at see you later then.
We'll see you soon, man. Thank you. God bless.